I thought this was my building, and I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, asking for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am. And I'm getting stopped. I can't move around this building. Like I was like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? I'm going to have to call Mr. Dolan and say, geez, is my number in the rafters or what?
I don't even know what to say. Stephen A., just go. Just go. I'm not even going to tee you up.
You know, the New York Knicks are having a very, very good season, considering the expectations. And to see the job that Leon Rose, World Wide West, William Wesley, Scott Perry, and of course Coach Tom Thibodeau is doing, I just can't say enough about it. Last night, notwithstanding against Milwaukee, clearly they were rusty, had the day off, and they got blitzed. We get that. But they've been very, very competitive for the most part throughout this season. And despite the greatness we're witnessing from the Brooklyn Nets, the Knicks are showing you that this is still a Knicks town, because even though they don't compare to the Nets in any way, every little thing that they do right, we actually love and salivate over. And, you know, all of a sudden your pride kicks in because you're hopeful for the New York Knicks. And on cue, there is always something that happens with Madison Square Garden to steal the headlines away from anything positive that's happening with the New York Knicks organization. 1 minute is Charles Oakley. Another minute, it's Spike Lee. You know, you got security forcibly removing Charles Oakley from the stands. You've got Spike Lee. Everybody on the planet Earth knows Spike Lee is synonymous with the New York Knicks and the money that he pays for those courtside seats and the way he has marketed and branded and helped brand that franchise on his own, despite the fact that they weren't deserving of it literally for decades. You got a problem with him in terms of his past and whatever location he was supposed to be in or whatever door he was supposed to come through and all of this stuff. And now you have Patrick Ewing. Patrick Ewing never delivered a championship, Max. That much is true. That's about the only thing he did not do for the New York Knicks franchise. When you consider the all-time, I mean, what do you say? A career 21-point per game scorer, 15 seasons with the New York Knicks. I'm just looking at him now, you know, going to 2 NBA Finals appearances, stuff like that. I mean, are you kidding me? Patrick Ewing, who has been the face of that franchise for the better part of 2 decades, and he has these kind of problems? Once again, even though some people are going to sit up there and say it has nothing to do with Dolan, yes, it does. And the reason why it does is because if you're James Dolan and you conspicuously hold folks in high regard, everybody in the Garden is going to know that. Everybody in the Garden is going to know. Now, whoever the security personnel is that don't know Patrick Ewing, it might be a fireable offense. And oh, by the way,
who do you think the 7-footer is?
Right.
Some dude who didn't play basketball?
Listen, and by the way, and if you do know him, but you're still insisting on a pass anyway, for Patrick Ewing, there's just an absence of appreciation and gratitude for what he has brought to this franchise. And it's just the latest embarrassing moment. I'm not going to say the Knicks. It's the latest embarrassing moment for James Dolan's Madison Square Garden. Somehow, some way, here you are again doing something like this.
First, they came for Charles Oakley, and some people were silent. Then they came for Patrick Ewing. Charles Oakley and Patrick Ewing? Yeah. I tweeted it last night. Like, what's you know, if Dolan owned the whole Hall of Justice, Green Lantern and Superman would be out of luck. Yeah. Like, what's next? Could you imagine Derek Jeter getting hassled at Yankee Stadium?
Even though you are talking about El Capitan, a champion.
Well, hold on.
5 times over.
Patrick Ewing didn't fail to deliver a championship. The Knicks failed to surround him with a championship team. Let's be honest. He didn't have another all-star to play with on offense.
He did have it, but they ran into Jordan. But go
okay,
and Elijah Wan.
Fine. Okay, fine. He got to 2 different finals. Okay. He was a powerhouse. He brought pride to New York and to the Knicks day in and day out.
He did.
He was a great defender. He worked hard. He led by example. He's in the Hall of Fame. Like, it goes on and on. What's next? Is the Pope going to get hassled hassled at the Vatican? Is Aquaman going to get hassled in the ocean? Like, what's the metaphor? What's the analogy here? It's insane what's going on. And you talked about the Knicks with expectations. Well, they're doing well considering the expectations. Well, guess what? When Patrick Ewing was on the Knicks, you had expectations every single year just because you had Patrick Ewing. Just because Patrick Ewing was holding it down for New York. Yeah. And you know who his number one crime partner was, Stephen A?
Oakley.
The next guy you'd think of is Charles Oakley. Patrick Ewing and Charles Oakley, the heart and soul of the Knicks for decades. Charles Oakley.
Excuse me, gentlemen. This is very entertaining, but can I play devil's advocate for a moment?
Go ahead.
Sure.
What if it's some young kid who's not a sports fan? What if they don't know who Patrick Ewing is? What if their boss said to them, you can't let anybody in without security or you're fired? It's COVID. They need the job.
Go ahead, Stephen.
I mean, do we do special treatment for celebrities?
May I answer
just got to play devil's advocate as we're agreeing on everything right here. Please answer all of them.
Well, you know what? You know, wearing the beautiful white and all of that other stuff, devil's advocate and the outfit and the whole look.
Don't butter me up.
I mean,
angel's advocate.
That's right. You look like an angel.
Don't butter me up.
The devil's advocate doesn't work,
Thanks.
Molly.
But I
will say to you, I will say this to you, Molly. I don't think Patrick Ewing would have reacted that way if it was just some young kid. I don't think so.
And let me say this.
That's not him. That's not who he's not the kind of person that would have felt the need to react that way because one person just did it, not to mention it was some young kid wet behind the ears that was born after he was playing. I don't think
scared about their job.
Would have.
First of all,
I don't think he would have done that.
Garden security is the same guys, good guys.
And there are good guys there. A lot of good guys.
And they've been there forever.
Yes,
those guys have been there forever. You see them at the fights. You see them at the games.
They're great guys.
And they're good dudes. I mean, they have jobs to do. They have a boss, but they got to do what he says. But they're good dudes. Molly, listen, can we play the Patrick Ewing clip again, guys? Possibly, because if you listen to him, he didn't say there was an incident.
That's right.
He was talking about hassled where I go, ask for this, da-da-da. In other words, this sounded like something that was ongoing. We have the video. Let's listen.
I got the sound. Yeah.
But I do want to say one thing, though. I thought this was my building, and I feel terrible that I'm getting stopped, accosted, asking for passes. Everybody in this building should know who the hell I am. And I'm getting stopped. I can't move around this building. Like I was like, what the hell? Is this Madison Square Garden? I'm going to have to call Mr. Dolan and say, geez, is my number in the rafters or what?
Yeah, it wasn't just like he was stopped one time. He said stopped, accosted, stopped wherever he goes, asked for passes. But also common sense says you're in a basketball arena. There's a dude who I'm sure all the fans are reacting to or whoever's there is reacting to, and he's 7 feet tall. Is it possible that maybe he played basketball and perhaps for that franchise?
Yeah, but I'm not going to go to 7 feet tall because there's plenty of 7-footers who couldn't play and that might want to have backs. They might have been former players and they want access to the backs that you don't get that. No, it's not about 7 feet. It's about the fact that it's Patrick Ewing. There isn't anyone that strolls into Madison Square Garden who should not know who the hell Patrick Ewing is. And I think that when you listen to his words, what really, really resonates is similar to what Spike Lee said, is similar to what Charles Oakley said. What you have is a situation where Mr. Paranoid himself, James Dolan, has everyone, not just security, but PR and everybody else reacting to every little thing. He wants people in certain places. He doesn't want the media in certain places. He doesn't want just anybody having access to all of this other stuff. It's excessive. It's paranoid. It's something that has plagued anything that's happened inside of Madison Square Garden, not just the Knicks, the Rangers, everybody in between. Anything associated that comes under the umbrella of Madison Square Garden. There has been similar complaints. It is an uncomfortable environment for people to walk in, and it has everything to do with James Dolan and his paranoia.
Let me make an apples-to-apples comparison. Here's a guy who never won a championship in baseball. Could you imagine Don Mattingly, who's a manager of another team, Don Mattingly getting treated that way at Yankee Stadium?
No.
Right? And that was the same thing.
No.
Holding it down for the Yankees in the 80s, didn't win championships, great player. I can't imagine it because you have certain levels of organization, certain classes of organization. And I always say a fish rots from the head down. That's why when you just said basically a culture of paranoia from Dolan, bingo. That's what we're dealing with.
The other thing we can't ignore is this. Are you ready for this? Want me to blow you away with this? It wouldn't happen to Pat Riley. And he's a coach that left by facts. Remember that. He left. He faxed in his resignation because he was so disgusted with the Knicks organization. They wouldn't do that to Pat Riley. So it's something going on in Madison Square Garden. It's got Dolan written all over it, and it's something that needs to stop, or people need to bring attention to it.
Charles Oakley.
Yeah. Patrick Ewing.
Charles Oakley.
Patrick Ewing. Yeah. Yeah. You know?
All right, we'll leave it there. It was a valiant effort by me to try to show the other side. Apparently, it didn't work.
It was valiant. It was
guys, someone who can relate to this situation, that would be Spike Lee. We have Spike on line one. So Spike Lee, no stranger, obviously, to confrontation with MSG security. So what does the iconic Knicks fan think of the latest incident involving legend Patrick Ewing? Spike joining us for a final half hour here of First Take. Don't miss that. And Cliff Kellerman, listen up. I have breaking news for you on one Tom Brady. Breaking news on Tom Brady after the break. Don't go anywhere.